Vous avez une opportunité incroyable. You have an incredible opportunity, guys, to ask questions. Please do it. We have 1 hour. And then we left for the signing session. Et après, on s'en va. Et si vous avez des questions, ça va commencer maintenant. Je vais commencer d'abord, moi, par une question liminaire.
We're not allowed to talk during the signing.
No.
We're not going to say anything.
Ok, let's go. Ok, c'est une petite locative. Je suis encore une fois trop bavard. Les amis, 10h47, il y en a un qui est par là. Il vous le dira. Il est là. Voilà, merci.
Oh boy. I mean, the joy of my life is that I get to work with such incredible comic artists to create these stories. I love comic art, and I think that is actually right at the heart of my connection with both Werther and Fernando here. Fernando and I worked on a handful of DC comics together, but the process that led to the World Tree was actually at the start of the COVID pandemic, where we started emailing back and forth recommendations of a lot of strange and alternative comics that both of us shared an interest in, knowing that we wanted to work together, but at that point we hadn't decided precisely what we were going to do. And further, we were paired together early on, but once we actually met together, I remember, one of my, we like collecting original comic art. And so oftentimes, when someone very impressive does a Something is Killing the Children cover, sometimes we are fighting each other in order to get the original art for ourselves. And my apartment is filled with beautiful comic art, and my email inbox is filled with beautiful comic art, and that is it's incredible. This medium of comics can do anything and everything. And, the process of figuring out, what, each of my collaborators' strengths are, and how those line up with how I like to write my stories and build my worlds, it's always an adaptive process, an ongoing process. And it's been different every single book that I've worked on. And I don't know, it's extremely rewarding, and I love working with both of these guys and all of the artists that I work with. Yeah.
Ok, et après c'est moi qui suis bavard.
Sorry. Sorry.
They are saying I'm a talkative guy. So thank you for this one. I will try to resume a little.
I'll talk shorter next time.
Please do. Donc, la question que vous avez posée, c'était comment c'était de travailler ensemble, évidemment, de travailler des artistes pareils. Et donc, je vais essayer de résumer parce que c'était vraiment long pour le coup. James nous a dit que travailler avec eux, c'était évidemment incroyablement gratifiant. Je reviens un peu en arrière sur le fait qu'il a chez lui, dans son appartement, beaucoup d'œuvres qui sont affichées, qui sont absolument géniales, et pareil dans sa boîte mail et sur son ordinateur, évidemment. Lui et Fernando ont travaillé depuis longtemps ensemble, d'abord à DC, with Fernando at first, au tout début chez DC Comics, etc. Et puis c'est au moment de la pandémie avec le Covid, etc., qui se sont mis vraiment à échanger et que World Tree a fini par arriver. Et par rapport à Werther, pour le coup, ça s'est fait vraiment. You said you were paired together?
Yeah.
Donc ils ont été. Who proposed to, it was your editor at the time?
Yeah. Eric Harper.
Donc leur éditeur Eric qui les a associés. Donc c'est comme ça que ça a commencé. Et ensuite, évidemment, avec les échanges, Something is Killing the Children est arrivé. On commence avec vos questions, les amis. Rêve.
I'm really close. So first, I want to just say thank you for what you created. It's really important for me and for what I can read. And it's especially, it works?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. Now it works. And especially for your man-female characters, like Eureka or Slaughter or Fear or Punchline. I have to talk about Punchline because I love really maybe too much, but I have to talk about this. But my question is Guillaume, your process creative, between your script and the drawings. How do you work together? And James, your scenarios are detailed on the page or on the comic box, or what's the liberty to your illustrators?
Alors, la question de Red, c'était en gros de savoir, toi tu dis que tu es très très fan notamment des héroïnes, que ce peuvent être Fear, Erika Slaughter ou Punchline que tu aimes particulièrement. Quelle est la liberté pour les auteurs, en gros, pour les artistes qui travaillent avec James au niveau créatif? Est-ce que le script, les scénarios de James est très détaillé, ou est-ce qu'au contraire il y a une vraie liberté?
At the start of every new comic project, I like to spend a lot of time developing the world. So, you know, before I wrote the first script of Something is Killing the Children, I had the original pitch document that I put together, and I had descriptions of particularly Erica and how I saw Erica. And, you know, those were sent, like we sent, you know, those went over to Werther. And then I didn't start writing the series until I saw Erica for the first time. And that was a really important process for me because it, you know, Werther is the one who came up with the idea of the bandana for Erica. That wasn't in any of my descriptions of the character. And that changed how I thought of the character and saw her, and it changed how I wrote her once I finally started the series.
Alors, d'abord, James détaille énormément le monde dans lequel il va développer son histoire. Vraiment, c'est ce que souvent d'ailleurs les auteurs appellent un peu the Bible of the world, the landscape, le lore. Et avant d'arriver vraiment au moment d'attaquer l'histoire. Et c'est vraiment, là dans la discussion, notamment sur Something is Killing the Children, c'est vraiment quand il a eu Erika, vraiment, qui était vraiment le personnage qu'elle est devenue quasiment, que ça commence à se mettre en place. Et c'est au travers de leurs échanges que Werther a eu l'idée du bandana, justement. Et du coup, ça a également changé en retour la vision que James pouvait avoir du personnage et la façon dont il allait écrire.
No,
sorry.
Yeah. By the time I started working on World Tree with Fernando, the process of Something is Killing the Children had changed how I developed books, because knowing that I needed to see the characters to actually dig into the world, I tried to do that more deliberately with World Tree. We spent a lot of time talking about the feelings of the series and the ideas behind the series. And I put together a document that was less of a story document and more of an idea document and a feelings document. And then from there, we designed all of the characters and went back and forth on all of them. And then it was through that process. The character Fear actually came a little later in the process than, you know, the ideas that she represents in the book were in the early parts of the story, but creating a singular character was something that came out of the back and forth between us all. And then, you know, and then I was able to start working. It's like I need to see what the art looks like in order to lean in. But once I do that, my actual scripts are often fairly simple. My panel descriptions, panel to panel, are often just describing the emotions of the characters. I don't, like, if I have a very complex idea, I'll explain it. But usually, panel to panel, it's very, very simple language.
Yeah. Donc, en fait, le travail, c'est au moment où il avait vraiment avancé dans le travail avec Werther sur Something is Killing the Children que ça lui a, on va dire, fait approfondir et changer son approche, notamment dans le cas de World Tree, où vraiment ils ont de plus en plus posé et le monde et les idées, le sentiment qu'il pouvait y avoir derrière, le ressenti, pour être plus précis, qu'il pouvait y avoir. Et du coup, ils ont fait des allers-retours dans leurs échanges à propos des personnages. C'est aussi à ce moment-là que le personnage de Fear a été vraiment travaillé. Et à partir de là, à partir du moment où il y a quelque chose d'extrêmement détaillé, qui a une vision très précise des choses et des personnages, parce que c'est très très important dans le travail de James Tynion, alors il y a les scripts qui arrivent, et alors là pour le coup ça devient beaucoup plus simple. Ils sont écrits de manière beaucoup plus simple, et chaque strips, si vous voulez, chaque case est décrite de manière beaucoup plus simple. Et si jamais il y a un moment où il y a quelque chose de beaucoup plus complexe, alors là, ils en parlent vraiment en avant. Et en gros, il y a une vraie collaboration.
Hi. When you come up with your initial stories, do you try to sketch or to draw your characters?
No, I am not a good artist. All I can do is draw a very cartoony version of myself, and that's it. Yeah.
Donc la question c'était de savoir si au moment où il commençait à imaginer ses histoires, il dessinait lui-même ses personnages. Et la réponse est non. À part une version de lui-même un peu cartoony, absolument pas. Il estime en tout cas qu'il n'a pas de talent à ce niveau-là. Mélène?
So most for you, because it's about drawing.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of DC Comics, particularly. I read Independent too. And there is this absolute universe right now. And I was wondering, were there characters in the DC Comics universe you would like to appropriate yourself? You did it with the Green Lantern, but is there any other characters that you would like to take and change a bit? And you'd like to make a story?
Yeah, pitch us your absolute DC books.
Donc Mélène pose la question, lui il est très fan de DC notamment, il demandait à Fernando et à Werther, both of you, s'ils ont des personnages de DC qu'ils aimeraient s'approprier pour vraiment amener leur propre patte dessus par exemple.
Well, I'm working on right now on Green Lantern Dark, and yeah, probably it was not my first choice. Also because it's pretty strange because it's an Elseworld of Green Lantern, but not the original Green Lantern, even not the regular Green Lantern. Is the tangent Green Lantern? So it's pretty strange. So but that gave us the chance to really transform the character the way we wanted to. So it's pretty fun. I always thought about this fact, this answer, this kind of answer, because when somebody asks me which character do you want to draw, do you want to take, and the only answer that I feel to say is it depends from the writer. And that's it.
Donc je vais d'abord traduire la réponse de Werther. Dans son cas, il travaille effectivement sur Green Lantern Dark, mais qui est déjà une variation, et c'est même pas une variation à Elseworld, mais c'est même pas un Elseworld par rapport à la série canonique particulièrement. Donc c'est déjà particulier. Et la réponse qu'il fait quand on lui demande quel personnage il aimerait dessiner, il dit que ça dépend de qui va être le scénariste. And you, Fernando?
Well, I've been working in superheroes for like 20 years or something like that. And I think I have the chance to draw my favorite characters. So I heard about the absolute stuff and that, and I think this is something fresh, but it's not something that really excited me. I'm really happy working in independent comics, and I honestly didn't think about what kind of character I would like to draw. No, I like to draw World 3, and I want to draw World 3 for a lot of time. And maybe this will change in the future, but at this moment, I would prefer not to work anymore for Marvel or DC, to be honest. I know it will happen eventually, and I'm doing covers, and I have no problem at all. I enjoy when I do it, but now for me, independent comics is absolute freedom, like an artist. So for me, it's paradise right now.
Donc dans le cas de Fernando, lui, ça fait plus de 20 ans qu'il a dessiné des super-héros et à peu près tous les personnages qu'il voulait dessiner. Donc il y a plus rien d'excitant pour lui, en tout cas en ce moment, même si évidemment il est conscient qu'en travaillant dans les comics, il est tout à fait possible qu'un jour il ait à en redessiner. Tu avais une question, je t'ai vu tout à l'heure aussi.
I write my question to be sure not to make so much mistake, and sorry for my English. I just want to begin to thank you all three to be here. And thank you, Guillaume, to organize this fantastic event. It's a really pleasure to talk with us here. My questions, I have two questions, more for James. The first is, you're working on several fantastic stories at the same time. How do you manage all of that? And the second question is, what is your creative process for each story? From the outset, do you think about how the story will evolve and how you want it to end? Or do you develop the story as you go along?
Ok, donc il y avait une première partie sur un immense merci à eux trois d'être là évidemment. Et la question qui s'adresse à James, c'est il travaille sur plusieurs séries en même temps. Comment il procède, comment il y arrive évidemment. Et est-ce qu'il sait déjà depuis le début, quoi, en gros, jusqu'où il veut aller, ou est-ce qu'au contraire le développement peut changer au fur et à mesure de l'histoire?
So, I started my career doing a lot of superhero comics, and some of my first big titles were, I was on a weekly Batman comic called Batman Eternal, and then I did another weekly Batman comic, and then I did a comic that was coming out Detective Comics was coming out twice a month when it was coming out. I was trained very early on to work on a lot of stories at the exact same time. And once I started moving into my own independent work, I kind of stayed at the same pace. And, you know, I think I'm unusual as a writer because I don't think I would, or maybe not all that unusual, but I would not be happy just working on one title at a time. I think that title would be crazy. I would be trying to juggle all of the ideas that I am currently doing across all of the books that I'm doing in one book, and that would be a nonsense book. Maybe it would be fun and interesting in some way, but it's, I think of it like each book kind of is like working a different muscle group. And it's just like I need to do my arms day and then I need to do my leg day. It's they all speak to a different part of me emotionally, and they each say something very different to me personally.
Ok, donc alors sur sa façon de travailler sur le rythme qui tient, en fait quand il a commencé sa carrière, il travaillait donc pour DC avec Batman Eternal notamment, Detective Comics, mais il avait un rythme à tenir qui était vraiment ce qu'on pourrait appeler d'assez important, on va dire, et en fait il a toujours gardé ce rythme-là, donc c'est devenu vraiment la norme pour lui, et le fait de travailler sur plusieurs séries en même temps, pour lui c'est la meilleure chose. Il a dit dans un premier temps que c'était peut-être un peu inhabituel pour les différents scénaristes. Il y en a évidemment qui le font, mais pour lui c'est même mieux dans la mesure où il a plein de choses à exprimer, et s'il devait tout dire, tout exprimer, toutes les idées, tous les ressentis qu'il a dans une seule et même histoire, ça pourrait partir évidemment dans tous les sens. Donc là, au moins, ça fait partie plutôt d'un groupe d'histoires qu'il écrit en même temps et qui chacune vont le lier, lui, sur différents plans émotionnels ou autres à ces histoires-là, quoi.
And in terms of how I develop each of these titles, I need to always know what direction the compass is pointing. And I have a sense of the destination. And I always need to be walking confidently towards a destination, but the destination can change. If suddenly I have a better idea that takes me in a wildly different way, I may have confidently been walking in this direction to this point, but then I'll start confidently walking in that direction. So I always start by having a strong idea about what the series is and who the characters are. And then I have an idea of where I'm going. But then I allow the series and the characters to tell me where I go next. And I try to capture a bit of my own inspiration and creative energy in the moment. Because if I have an idea right now about a story that I'm going to write 2 years from now, I don't know who I will be in 2 years when I finally sit down to write that story. So I don't concern myself as much with that. What matters most is the issue that I'm writing right in front of me today, and it's going to change based on who I am in that moment. And as long as I know a sense of where it's going, that has worked very well for me in all my titles.
Par rapport à la question, donc la dernière partie de ta question, à partir du moment où lui, il sait vers où il va, il a une idée vraiment assez nette de où il veut aller, mais par contre, il n'en est pas au point de planifier tout à l'avance, des années à l'avance, etc., parce qu'il ne sait pas, comme il vient de le dire, qui il sera lui en tant que personne, en tant qu'auteur, d'ici 2 ans par exemple, etc. Donc ce qui importe à partir du moment où on connaît la direction, tout peut changer. Ce qui importe, c'est le moment où il est en train d'écrire le single, le chapitre qu'il est en train d'écrire. Il y a une question là-bas.
What was the process for writing the character of Nora in myself? Because I thought this was a really accurate depiction of consumer and it felt really nice to have a character like her in a book. Although did Nora achieve her potential in the aftermath of the first cycle?
Alors, je suis désolé, j'ai entendu que la première partie de ta question par rapport au personnage de Nora, donc, qui est dans le cycle Nice House by the Sea, on est d'accord, hein, que tu trouves très très bien. Tu peux me dire ta question en français de la fin, parce que du coup, tu as dit que c'était super bien d'avoir un personnage comme ça.
Et après, est-ce qu'elle a fini sa transition au-dessus du cycle?
D'accord, ok. So, did you...
The last bit.
Yeah. He's very fan of the character of Nora
Yeah.
in Nice House by the Sea. And so the question was, did she achieve a transition at the end of cycle 1? Of the first cycle?
No. Yeah.
What was the process of writing?
Yeah. What is the process? Yeah. No. Nora is based on a lot of people that I know in real life. And she is, there are aspects of her that, fold in elements of one of my best friends from high school and a handful of people from college. I was, I think I'm very grateful that I've had, the first close friend of mine that came out as trans in my life was when I was 14 years old. So I've known trans people my entire life, and then I went to Sarah Lawrence College, which is a very liberal gay school outside of New York City, where I learned the arcane genders that are still hypothetical across the world. It was beautiful, and Nora's humanity has always been very, very important to me, because Nora, I love writing her because she is a very difficult person. She is the sort of person that even if she was your best friend, you would want to you would get into an argument with her almost every day and be frustrated with her every day. And I do think that the fact that she is she has that complexity to her is why people have gravitated to her as a character. But I think I found I found the authenticity in the character by pulling from the lives of real people in my life, and and then Nora's story is crucial to the entire Nice House saga. And I think you'll if you haven't read Nice House by the Sea yet, Nora's story is very central to Nice House by the Sea, and will continue to be very central as the series moves forward.
Donc par rapport à la question sur le personnage de Nora, elle est inspirée par beaucoup d'amis proches de James qui a beaucoup d'amis gays, d'amis trans, etc. Et pour qui ça fait partie de sa vie depuis très longtemps, notamment depuis l'âge de ses 14 ans, etc. Et il était dans un collège, Sarah Lawrence, près de New York, etc., qui était vraiment très, très libéral à ce niveau-là. Donc ça a toujours été quelque chose de complètement normal. Et il s'inspire beaucoup des gens qui font partie de sa vie, des amis proches et autres, etc. Et le personnage de Nora, il y a donc une complexité par rapport à cette question-là, notamment, et elle est un élément clé et son récit est central pour toute la saga de The Nice House. On ne va pas en dire trop évidemment parce que beaucoup d'entre vous n'ont pas encore lu Nice House by the Sea, donc c'est le cas et ça sera le cas. Noël?
Hello, thanks guys for being here. I have a question for the two of you. To you, James, what artist would you love to work with if you could? And for you guys, excellent artists, what writer would you love to draw stories for? Thank you guys.
Et it's greeting.
Yeah. Who do I have to fight?
Donc la question de Noël, c'est de savoir avec qui James adorerait travailler comme artiste par ailleurs, et eux par ailleurs avec qui ils aimeraient travailler comme scénariste.
The amazing thing at this point in my career, with a certain degree of success, that it means that even artists that I might not be able to work on a project's actual interior comic art with, I've managed to bring on to draw characters that I've helped conceive and on covers and things like that. Bill Sienkiewicz is a huge one for me, and I've managed to get a few covers out of him, and that is really, really wonderful. Recently, we had a Chris Bacallo cover on Something is Killing the Children, and that's another one of my favorites. But honestly, I already work with such an incredible group of artists, and and I'm already working on too many things at the same time, and I just wanna keep the ones I got.
Dans le cas de James, il y a déjà énormément d'artistes avec qui il a travaillé, il est tellement heureux de travailler avec eux. Il y a quelques artistes qu'il adore qui ont pu faire des covers récemment. Chris Bacallo, and just before you say...
Bill Sienkiewicz.
Bill Sienkiewicz, of course. Bill the Man Sienkiewicz. Donc, par exemple. And you guys?
Well,
yeah. There is Fernando between you, him and you.
Oh, okay. As the previous answer, it depends on the writer, and right now, James is the best. I really love to work with James because the way he used to write his script make me totally comfortable, and I think Something is Killing the Children is the easiest comic book I ever worked with. So sometimes I found myself think about who would be another, if there would be another writer I would work with. But I've worked with also Brian Azzarello, Mark Waid, James Robinson. They worked together on the Spider-Man family business, and these are pretty much my kind of writer. The writer I really love to read when they come out with a comic book. I'm pretty good with that, so I'm good to work with James, and I don't have because I really enjoy every page, and that is the really important stuff. So I don't have this particular feeling to find someone else to work with.
So this is not a breakup story now. Donc il n'y a pas de rupture envisagée du tout concernant donc Werther. Lui, pour James c'est le meilleur, clairement. Donc et travailler avec lui sur Something, c'est le titre le plus facile qu'il ait eu à faire, son travail le plus évident. Donc vraiment il est là, même s'il a travaillé avec d'autres artistes qu'il a cités comme Mark Waid par exemple, etc. And you, Fernando?
Well, like I say, I've been working a lot of time in superheroes. I worked with very different writers. And one thing I realized that when you are been working so many years in this industry, and that it doesn't matter too much if you want to work with a writer because you like the stuff he does. You didn't know really until you work with him or her. So at the end, I realized that I really want more to work again with songwriters than work with someone that I didn't know except for reading his work. And I realized, for example, that after we did the first issue of Batman Eternal with James, that I really wanted to work again with him because I enjoyed that issue and the work, the way he writes. So at the end, you can think of many writers that like how he's right, but you don't know really how was going to be to work with him or her until you do it. So at the end, is that matters.
Pour Fernando, ce qui compte en fait finalement, c'est quand vous commencez à travailler vraiment avec quelqu'un. Vous pouvez apprécier un écrivain, un scénariste que vous lisez par ailleurs, mais c'est au moment où vous allez commencer à travailler avec lui que vous allez vous rendre compte si vous appréciez de travailler avec lui ou pas, tout simplement. Donc avec James, c'est carrément le cas depuis le premier chapitre de World Tree. Jean-Rémy.
Ma question est pour James. Vous êtes un scénariste extrêmement prolifique et créatif parce que les histoires que vous faites sont dans divers domaines et sujets. Quelles sont vos sources d'inspiration pour arriver à être aussi large dans vos récits, dans vos types de récits, plus spécifiquement dans le département?
Okay, you are an extremely prolific and talented writer, but you are doing a lot of different things. What are your inspiration mostly? But he asked specifically about the Department of Toulouse.
Yeah. I think inspiration comes from everywhere. And I know that feels like a cheap answer in some ways. But, something that I learned very early on in, working in creative fields is that the way to find new ideas, the way to feed my brain is to lean in whenever I find myself interested in something. With Department of Truth, the road to that series started right after the first Trump election in the United States, and I started the first one in 2016, and I started reading a lot of books that were about basically all of the cultural roads that had led to that moment, particularly in the late 20th century. But some books also just about the entire history of America through the perspective. There's a great book called Fantasyland that was very influential in how I thought about it. Here. Catch up.
Yes, sir. Donc, il s'inspire de beaucoup de choses, évidemment, de choses qu'il lit, de choses qu'il voit, etc. Dans le cas de Department of Tous, ça a commencé vraiment avec la première élection de Donald Trump en 2016. Il s'est mis à lire beaucoup de choses à ce moment-là. Un livre notamment qui s'appelle Fantasyland. I have just a follow-up story. Did you read the Howard Zinn Cultural Story of America?
Yeah. No, that I love the Howard Zinn.
Une histoire populaire des États-Unis, qui est d'ailleurs, je crois, qui est encore publié chez Vertige Graphique, qui est un roman graphique incroyable qui raconte l'histoire des États-Unis réelle, mais que vous ne connaissez pas.
But for me, oftentimes when I don't realize that I'm researching for a series until I've read 4 or 5 books that are all on a similar subject, and then suddenly, after having read all of those books, and often it's like I've read all of those books and then I might watch an episode of a TV show or I might listen to an album and then something clicks in my brain. And then I see like these are all the raw pieces of a new idea. And now I need to, tend to this new idea and figure out how do I want to express it in in a visceral, visual sense, and then it's like I keep it in that raw form until I find my creative partner on it.
That's interesting. Like you talk like a sculptor.
Yeah, it's
like modeling something from raw matter.
Yeah, no, I mean everything is inspiration. Like, going to a party is inspiration. A weird way a friend says a sentence can be an inspiration. And I try to absorb as much as I can, and and be out in the world and live my life, because I think that's it's taking in as many inputs as I can and seeing what happens in my brain and how that expresses as new stories.
Donc pour faire simple, il s'immerge énormément, il lit beaucoup de livres, beaucoup de récits, beaucoup de choses, vraiment il se donne beaucoup de matière à avoir. C'est pour ça que je faisais l'analogie avec un sculpteur, et une fois qu'il a toute cette matière, il y a un côté viscéral à aller modeler, à aller chercher vraiment ce qu'il veut en extraire, en gros. Donc c'est la façon dont il travaille. Chris, tu avais une question là-bas.
Hi. I would like to you talk about ideas and destination, and I don't know how it works, but on independent stories, can you do whatever you want with the story? And when you work with characters like Batman, do you have limits from DC Comics or something like that?
Yes, you absolutely have limits.
Tu avais la réponse dans ta question, hein, faut dire la vérité.
No, yeah, when you're working on a character that's owned by a big company, it all depends on your relationship with the editors, and how much they trust you, and how much the bosses trust those editors, and then it also depends on which book you're on. When I took over the main Batman title, that it's not just telling one story, it's telling one story that needs to be able to support the 10 books per month that come out around that story without contradicting any of those stories, and also helping those secondary stories sell more copies. So it's a large and complicated math, and and it can be a very thrilling math. I actually really enjoyed working in that process. That's why I stayed there for about 10 years, telling different stories in it. But in an original story, the only limitation is really sales. Like when I was first starting, I might have wanted to do a story like Something is Killing the Children, where I want it to last for 100 issues. But I was 24 years old, and my story wasn't going to last 100 issues in stores. So I have to convince the publisher to let me give me as many issues as they're willing to give me, and then try to move forward. But I was very unusual early in my process. I did a series called The Woods, and I said that this is a multi-year story, and they said, we'll give you 12 issues. And I'm like, I will take those 12 issues, but at the end of those 12 issues, that won't be the end of the story. Either, and I will be happy if the story ends unfinished, but I'm not going to change the story to be an abridged version of the whole idea.
Which is quite unusual. Donc ta question, c'était de savoir si en fait la différence entre travailler pour une compagnie comme ici, pour laquelle il a travaillé pendant 10 ans, ou indépendant, changeait bien évidemment sa matière, la façon d'écrire, surtout les limites qu'il pouvait avoir. Donc la réponse évidente sur DC Comics, c'est que oui, évidemment, il y a des limites, clairement. Et il y a aussi une approche qui est différente dans la mesure où quand il a été scénariste, par exemple, régulier sur la série Batman, donc la série canon, ça veut dire qu'il devait aussi écrire en fonction des 10 séries autour qui allaient être impactées par ce qu'il était en train de faire. Et donc, il devait y avoir cette vision de comment rendre aussi les séries autour plus attractives et les rendre attractives pour qu'elles vendent le mieux. Ça, il y a des limites éditoriales et il y a des limites parce qu'il y a tout cet environnement autour, ce qu'on appelle parfois les spin-offs, parfois les tag-ins, etc. De côté des indépendants, évidemment, la réponse immédiate de James, c'est la limite, c'est les ventes. Lui, ce qui est inhabituel chez lui, c'est qu'il a commencé très tôt à écrire pour de l'indé. Comme il l'a dit, si à 24 ans, il avait commencé à dire à l'éditeur, tiens, je veux faire 100 singles, 100 épisodes de Something is Killing the Children, évidemment, il n'aurait pas pu. Il a commencé par une série qui s'appelle The Woods, et le deal, c'était, il leur a dit, je veux faire une série qui sur plusieurs années, et on lui a dit, à ce moment-là, nous, on peut te filer 12 épisodes, on est prêt à te donner 12 épisodes, ce à quoi il a répondu, ok, je les prends, les 12 épisodes, mais par contre, ça ne voudra pas dire que j'en serai à la fin de l'histoire. Et donc il a pris ce risque-là, clairement, en ne composant pas. Donc ça, c'est vraiment...
Yeah. And I'm very grateful to now be in a position that I can tell every story the way I want to tell it, and for however long I want to tell it. except I keep coming up with new ideas, and that's why I'm writing 20 things at the same time.
Yeah. So are you a workaholic?
Yes. Yeah.
Donc évidemment, ils sont très chanceux, c'est très gratifiant d'aujourd'hui pouvoir travailler sur tout ce qu'il aime, etc., que ça marche aussi bien, de pouvoir donc de pouvoir proposer toujours autant de nouvelles idées. I have a question from Bruno over there.
All your series are successes in comics. Would you be tempted to bring stories to cinema or television series?
Yeah. I mean, I think that like comics, I don't see comics as a stepping stone to movies, TV, and animation. I want the comics themselves to speak, to tell the full story, and it's the full creative expression of these worlds that I've created. But I do like my stories, and I think that they would do well in other media. And there are lots of conversations happening right now. Something is Killing the Children's been in development for a long time. There may or may not be a bunch of very exciting things happening this year with World Tree that I can't talk about, and a number of my other titles. And this is also part of why I recently created my own company, Tiny Onion, which allows me to have more direct control over my work entering multimedia in various forms.
Does that mean that you would be developing the stories for the series?
Yes, yeah, it means I'm directly involved in all of them. Like right now, there's only one of my properties that I am not directly involved in the adaptation of, and yeah, that is frustrating.
Donc la question de Bruno, c'était de savoir si il y avait donc des possibilités, des envies d'écriture aussi ou de développement des séries de comics vers le cinéma ou vers les séries télévisées. Il y a déjà des projets qui sont en négociation, qui se feront ou qui ne se feront pas, des choses dont il peut parler ou pas, en l'occurrence, et dans la plupart desquels il est complètement investi réellement, à l'exception d'un de ses projets, bon, on ne sait pas laquelle du coup, et ce qui est très très frustrant puisqu'il n'a pas la main dessus. Mais il ne voit pas ça par contre il ne voit pas les comics comme une passerelle. Les comics en eux-mêmes sont vraiment le cœur de ces histoires, ce sont vraiment des histoires à part entière, c'est pas juste un moyen d'arriver à quelque chose, quoi. Il y avait une question juste là.
Oui. C'était à propos des deux livres de Nice House on the Lake et Nice House by the Sea. Les deux, j'ai adoré. Merci beaucoup. C'était trop bien. Et ma question, c'est pour Monsieur Alvaro. Du coup,
non, c'est pas lui. Il n'est pas là, Alvaro. C'est pas grave. C'est pas grave. C'est pas grave du tout. Je t'ai senti arriver là, mais non. Ça c'est Werther Dell'Edera qui dessine Something is King de Shinren. Et ça, c'est Fernando Blanco qui dessine World Tree. Mais James, c'est le scénario.
Excusez-moi, mais du coup, je vais poser
I'll call him.
We can call him. I have a question from Alvaro for you. Also.
Du coup, ma question, c'était les personnages sont vraiment très précis et crédibles. Et je voulais savoir comment ils ont décidé ensemble à quoi ils ressembleraient physiquement. Parce qu'ils sont vraiment crédibles et vous pensez à nos proches en fait quand on les...
Your characters in Nice House on the Lake and Nice House by the Sea are very, very vivid, very realistic. How do you work on it? And do you work on it with Alvaro? And that's it, because they look like a lot for all of us. A lot of people we know.
Yeah,
we can relate to these characters.
No, I mean, similar to how I've described working on some of these other projects, Alvaro and I spent a lot of time making sure that each of the fashions, each of the, each character needed to be a very distinct and interesting character, especially with how large the cast of characters is. Every character needed to have their own identity from the get-go, and there were lots of sketches back and forth, and I would write long paragraphs describing each of their personalities and things that don't ever show up in the book. It's like what they were like when they were 17, and like fights that they would have, and things that influence how they dress and how they present themselves that don't necessarily relate to the story that's being told. But I shared as much as like all of my inspiration with Alvaro, and then Alvaro like would tackle each of the characters, and then I would and then we would go back and forth from there. But yeah, we wanted these characters to be feel very real and feel very much of this moment. We did not want Nice House to be a series that was trying to lean into like nostalgic tropes of like character archetypes and things like that. We wanted every character to feel very real and very alive.
Donc évidemment, l'idée c'est que les personnages, vous l'avez compris, soient vraiment très très présents, très réels dans le moment qu'ils sont en train de vivre, et pas de faire de Nice House quelque chose qui serait nostalgique, etc. Il met beaucoup des gens qu'il connaît dans les personnages qu'il écrit, et quand il en parle à Alvaro, il donne aussi beaucoup de matière en parlant de quand ils étaient plus jeunes, les disputes qu'ils ont pu avoir, ce genre de choses, etc. Et même si vous ne le retrouvez pas tel quel dans les livres, ça fait vraiment partie du process et des échanges qu'ils ont et de comment ça donne la matière aux personnages, quoi. Vraiment, we had Alvaro 2 years ago, and he told us here how he realized the friends you have, a lot of friends you have, are in the character.
Yeah.
So this is related to your
Oh yeah. No.
Vous avez dit ça.
No, I like a lot of the characters are based on real life friends of mine. There are usually they're folded like 3 or 4 people folded together into one. But it is, like I can hear their voices in my head. I know what they would say and what they would do. And most of my friends who are represented in the book are happy about it.
Lost.
Yeah. But yeah, no. And then obviously, I mean, the character of Walter is very much based on me.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can see that in the teenage years of Walter.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious. Donc oui, il y a beaucoup de choses, des gens qui connaissent, ses amis proches, qui se retrouvent évidemment, et Walter bien sûr, notamment quand on le voit dans les années plus adolescentes, plus jeunes, etc. C'est très très flagrant. Vincent, tu avais une question.
You just answered, but do you try to appear directly into your comic book? So for Nice House, you just answered, but maybe, I don't know, like something like the boys in the first volume of something different, children, or maybe parentheses in the closet, for example.
Yes. So I think the little gay kid with floppy black hair and glasses named James and Something is Killing the Children may also be based on me. And I don't know. I figure if Stephen King can put a different version of a writer protagonist into almost all of his key fictions, I'm allowed to do it a few times. It is, yeah. I put a lot of myself in my work. And sometimes it's more direct like that. With Nice House, it's, Nice House in the early parts of Something is Killing the Children, where James was an active character, it was very direct. It is, James was very much adapted from me of a certain age when I was about 12 or 13. And Walter is very much, it comes from the version of myself that I sort of, I see as sort of James in his mid-20s is kind of where a lot of Walter comes from. And a lot of the aspects of myself I didn't like about myself. It's a therapeutic process.
Confronting yourself.
Exactly. Horror is all about digging into uncomfortable feelings, and it's not just about society. It's also about me as a person.
Je reprends juste par la fin de ce qu'il a dit. L'horreur, c'est aussi le fait de se confronter à des choses qui sont dérangeantes, parfois pour soi, parfois à l'intérieur de soi. Il met beaucoup de lui-même dans les personnages, que ce soit dans effectivement James, dans Something is Killing the Children par exemple, mais dans The Nice House évidemment avec Walter, à différentes période de sa vie, quand il avait 13 ou 14 ans, par exemple, le personnage de James dans Something, mais le personnage de Walter, par exemple, dans la vingtaine, à propos des choses qu'il n'aimait pas lui-même chez lui. Donc le fait de se confronter à lui-même sur les choses qu'il n'aime pas. Je sais
But-
qu'il y a une- oui,
No, but it's not. I don't always do it in a very direct way. Sometimes I take little pieces of my life and I fold them into the stories in ways that are really only clear to me. And you know, there are conversations that happened in World Tree that are, you know, based on real life conversations that I've had, you know, with friends. There are little moments that, you know, I was going through a breakup or a complicated relationship, let's say, you know, over a little over a year ago, and it started folding itself into a lot of the comics I was writing in that moment. And you know, that like the ability to tap into my most primal real feelings and express it through fiction is, you know, it's why I write. And you know, I also think that if I'm not writing from that honest place, I don't know why I would be writing.
Donc il écrit beaucoup et tout le temps en partant de lui-même, vraiment de façon très très directe. Il ne saurait pas faire autrement, ce ne serait pas honnête pour lui. Donc voilà. Parfois, par contre, il s'inspire de certaines choses uniquement de lui, qui va être complètement transformer. Il n'y a que lui qui saura vraiment d'où ça vient, comme des conversations de la vie réelle qui sont trouvées par exemple dans World Tree, etc. Je crois que Nico, tu avais une question.
Yeah, thank you for being here. But I will talk mainly about Something is Killing Children, which I read for the first time almost 5 years ago when it started in France. And I fell instantly in love with the comic book. I was wondering to ask you about how much the story is personal to you. I mean, do you had nightmares? Do you believe in monsters when you were younger? For instance.
Yeah.
And for Werther, really love your drawings. The scenery, the cinematography, le découpage, je sais pas comment le dire.
Storyboarding.
It felt alive. I was immersed in the story. So I was wondering what's your process to create the characters besides the instructions given by James, and how do you work on your cinematography in the book?
Donc la question de Nico, qui est très très fan de Something is Killing Children depuis que ça avait commencé en France, il est vraiment à fond. D'ailleurs, il a fait un très très beau dessin tout à l'heure. Vous pouvez mettre ça sur les réseaux ou en vidéo. C'était de savoir si, en gros, d'abord, James croyait aux monstres, s'il avait aux cauchemars, ce genre de choses-là, etc. Et après, la façon dont ils ont échangé, notamment Werther, sur la partie graphique et comment il a développé tout ça, quoi.
Yeah, so I like all of my other comics, like Something is Killing Children is very personal to me. I think that, but there are ways in which it's unusual in my work. I often do pull so much from my real life and my real experiences, but Erica Slaughter is a character that kind of came to me and came to us. There are elements that I relate to Erica. She is, I think, the kind of embodiment of, I think, the millennial generation. And the idea of, a person who grew up trying to function in systems that were designed to help people that no longer help people. And then trying to, in the face of that, still do her best to help as many people as she can, but it is running her down into the ground and hurting her to do so. And that core experience is something that I there are elements of it I relate to, but she is so firmly a character in my head that when I write her, it's not me tapping into a part of myself, it's me tapping into something external, and there's something almost magic about writing it.
Dans la création du personnage d'Erika, il y a quelque chose qui vient plutôt de ce qu'à côté de l'extérieur est fait dans le fait qu'elle qu'elle tente malgré tout toujours de sauver, toujours d'aider, etc. Alors que ça l'enfonce elle-même de plus en plus loin. Ça va, pour ceux qui suivent la série, vraiment, ça va loin. Donc vraiment, il y a tout ce côté-là qui est marqué. Et du coup, Werther, photographic part.
Well, you know, you need to know that the creating character process, making the characters is the worst part of the job for me. You know, I really hate it. So saying that, the Erica is the most beautiful character I ever worked with because she came out easily, totally easy. But I think we made just a couple of little changes.
Yeah.
On the character when I
Like,
draw it for the
like
first
she was
time.
instantly born.
Yeah,
When you see her
basically.
with the eye, she had, and the bandana, of course,
Mm-hmm.
the identity and the charisma of her is she's magnetic.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, she came out really fast and really easily. But yeah, every time I try to do, you know, for me, working on characters is really complicated because I always try to make them different, not look like characters, you know, classic, iconic characters, but I try to give them a little of humanity in their expression. I try to change the shape of the skull, the face, every time, you know. So, and that's it's really difficult when you have to. So I really I really be sympathetic with Alvaro about all the characters he had worked on Nice House on the Lake and Nice House on the beach. You know.
Yeah, by the sea.
By the sea, sorry. Sorry, on the beach. And sorry, go.
Non,
translate it.
Pour lui, ce qu'il déteste le plus, c'est vraiment la création des personnages, quoi. Vraiment trouver les personnages, c'est vraiment le plus dur. Il aime particulièrement Erika parce que ça a été super facile pour le coup. Et le fait de devoir travailler sur les expressions, etc., ça n'a, pour personne, ça n'a jamais été aussi facile, aussi simple qu'avec ce personnage-là.
But the second part, the storytelling. The storytelling is the most important part for me in the comic book. It is what I really enjoy when I draw pages, and that it's pretty fun because I really hate to draw scenarios, backgrounds, and that kind of stuff. But I have to because of the storytelling every time. Because I always because if I decide that the shot for that scene have to be that kind of shot, like a middle ground with all the background drawn in it, I have to do it. I can't skip that kind of stuff because for me it's really important to have a good storytelling, and I don't know, it is what I see every time I look at a movie or a TV show or an anime, whatever it is. I always think in order to have a good shot. So when I see a good movie, I'm always impressed. Before the story, I'm always impressed by the director,
like the
the way he put the camera, because it gives you a lot of feelings, you know. It works. The storytelling, when it works, you work with the script, and that makes a really.
Where the magic happens for you.
Yeah.
Et concernant la partie du storytelling, donc de la narration et le découpage, évidemment, c'est la partie qui pour lui est à la fois la plus intéressante, même s'il y a des choses qu'il déteste dessiner, comme les backgrounds, etc. C'est malgré tout le moment où il a le script et il va le transformer justement pour que ce soit vraiment le découpage, un peu comme il le disait avec les réalisateurs par exemple. Il est toujours hyper intéressé quand il voit quel angle de caméra ils ont choisi. C'est la même chose pour lui, c'est la même chose en comics. C'est vraiment cette partie-là qui est la plus intéressante. On arrive à la fin, les amis. On va prendre juste 2 questions. Des gens qui n'ont pas encore posé de questions depuis tout à l'heure.
Thank you again for being here. It's a great honor for all of us. James, it seems like you work these days as a duo, like a new story with a new artist. Thank you. Do you think you could write a complete different story with the same artist and you guys artists? Do you think you could draw a complete different story but still with James?
That's a really interesting question.
Because you said that it helps you a lot, the artist.
Yeah.
The story also.
Here, do you want to translate that first?
Donc la question que tu as posée, c'est de savoir en gros s'ils pouvaient s'imaginer travailler sur une histoire complètement différente avec eux, et l'inverse, s'ils s'imaginaient eux qu'on va dessiner une histoire complètement différente écrite par lui.
I think so much of how I work, on each of these series is me trying to lean into what I see as, like what I think each of us do best together. And so, but there are always little things that you kind of notice that, don't make sense for the story. So it would be, there would be, if I were to come up with a totally different idea for one of the artists that I'm working with, it would be leaning into something that we weren't able to do, and which does make sense. There are things that cannot happen in an issue of Something is Killing the Children, and the kind of techno horror that we have in World Tree. There's certain imagery that wouldn't be appropriate for that kind of story. That I would try, if we were to cook up something wholly new, it would be leaning into the sorts of things that that we're not able to already do in that. Yeah.
Dans le cas de James, si ça devait arriver, ce serait forcément pour aller raconter des choses qu'ils n'ont pas fait déjà dans les séries, ou qu'ils ne peuvent pas faire.
Well, I think that it would be really tricky because obviously I would like to give my best when in that case. If James comes up with a new, totally different thing, as an artist, I don't think that my art will change too much. Also, I'm 50 years old, so probably, I don't know. I don't put my head on fire, but I always look for something different, and it happens that some here and there that I change my way to draw, but mostly it depends on me than the story. When we started on Something is Killing the Children, when Eric contacted me in the first place, start this and I go with the story like that.
You will be very quick this one. Dans le cas de Werther, pour commencer, lui, son style va pas franchement changer. Comme il dit, il a 50 ans, il ne voit pas, mais c'est vraiment, il a besoin en tout cas d'être vraiment immergé dans une histoire.
When he contacted me in the first place, he sees he has seen my latest comic book was The Crow, Memento Mori, and it was totally different from the Something is Killing the Children stuff. And but he contacted me because of that. He asked me, he said, you are perfect for the story we have in mind. We love your thick black lines, and so if you want to try it, I was in, and that's it. The story is here. But when I started to work on something in Killing the Children, I said, okay, I will do something different right now, and I get something totally different from what they have seen in the first place.
Donc au début, quand il a été contacté par exemple pour Something, c'était parce qu'on avait vu ses travaux précédents sur Crow et Memento Mori. Donc en disant voilà, ton style est parfait, c'est des lignes noires très épaisses notamment, etc. Il a eu le script, vraiment lui il a voulu le faire tout de suite. Mais en fait, entre ce qu'ils ont vu au début et ce qu'il fait maintenant, déjà il y a eu des vrais changements qui sont liés à l'histoire. Fernando?
Well, I always thought personally that to be a good comic artist means to be able to draw any kind of a story with any kind of tone. You never know we're gonna do the next, and I always try to be able to adapt to the tone of the story of the writing request for me, but obviously this is your idea, but then you have the industry that asks you for something especially, and if you, for example, started to work in horror comics, I started to draw in Army of Darkness. After that, all the editors ask me for horror stuff. Even when I do superheroes, I do a lot of dark superhero stuff. But every project is a little bit different, and you learn different skills in every project. So I started to work in Batwoman or Catwoman, and in that moment, editors decided that I was able to draw women. So I started not just to be the dark guy. I started to be the guy that with the dark stuff and woman stuff. So, but for me, it's a challenge. For me, it's the fun part because I don't like to be an artist connected with a determined style. I like more to focus on the way you told the story. So I always thought style is a mix of things that you like to do and things you don't like to do and trying to avoid. So I think style at the end is a trap for the artist that doesn't allow to evolve.
Je vais commencer par la fin. Pour lui, le style, c'est les choses que vous aimez dessiner et les choses que vous allez essayer d'éviter de dessiner. C'est comme ça qu'il le définit. Lui, il a commencé, ça fait très longtemps qu'il dessine. Et au début, lui, c'est pas tellement la question d'avoir un style, c'est plutôt ce qu'il l'a défini. Au début, il a écrit des histoires dans Army of Darkness, des choses comme ça, très horreur. Donc, il a été catalogué tout de suite comme ce genre de dessinateur. Là, on lui a demandé de dessiner Batwoman, Catwoman, etc. Donc tout d'un coup, c'est devenu le gars qui savait dessiner à la fois des trucs horrifiques et horribles, mais aussi des femmes. Donc ça va être... Voilà, l'idée, c'est de ne pas rester bloqué sur quelque chose et de s'adapter, de perpétuelle évolution. Il y a les deux dernières questions, quick, Alex et il y a Sandrine, et après on en arrêtera là, les amis.
Question for all of you. How can you come up with the nice songs? I mean, what was like the artistic process? I mean, because it's a real when you read it, you fell into the story, and you just want to draw yourself in the story. And secondly, if you have to be remembered for something you draw, what would you choose? And why?
That's pretty ambitious. That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys think on that one.
Tricky question.
Yeah. So Nice House, I came up with that idea. People think that because of the subject matter in the story, people often think that it's a story that I came up with during COVID. But I actually pitched the story 2 years before COVID. And part of it was like the world was already feeling like a really tense and dangerous place. And there was a core feeling that I wanted to tell a horror story about that felt very of that moment, which was the fact that, like there were so many bad things happening in the world that you felt guilty enjoying little pleasures. That if you were going on a nice vacation with a few friends, like knowing that like the world's falling apart out there, like if you allow the fact that the world's falling apart to consume you, you can't enjoy yourself, you can't live your life. But if you fully ignore that, there's something kind of poisonous about that as well. And there's no good answer in that moment.
La question de d'où vient en gros l'inspiration, l'idée de The Nice House. Beaucoup de gens ont pensé que ça venait vraiment du moment où il y a eu la pandémie avec le Covid. En fait, il avait pitché ça 2 ans auparavant et ça vient du fait que le monde était déjà extrêmement anxiogène, extrêmement dangereux et de cette espèce de paradoxe, en fait, le fait de dire est-ce qu'on peut se permettre vraiment d'avoir des moments heureux dans la vie, de partager des moments heureux alors qu'il se passe tellement de choses horribles de l'autre côté et si on fait tout pour l'ignorer, est-ce que finalement ça ne revient pas de nous empoisonner d'une certaine manière?
So, but the other element was just I was in a moment in my life that that I think many of us hit, where as you get older, the friendships that you've had over time change, and the people who were once very close to you, they've turned into different people, and you've turned into a different person, and you try to reconnect in those moments, and it's difficult. And growing to accept that is a difficult process. And so I wanted to sort of bring all of those ideas together into an apocalyptic horror story.
L'idée de cette donc l'histoire d'horreur complètement apocalyptique vient aussi du fait que quand vous avez des amis depuis très très longtemps, les gens évoluent, les gens changent, vous changez, et parfois ça peut provoquer bien sûr des tensions, parfois ça peut provoquer des séparations, et aussi des reconnexions, et c'est tout ce mix-là qui a amené à The Nice House notamment. Did you have time enough to think of a tricky question?
Well, I probably will be remembered for being Batman.
Ok. Lui, il aimerait être. On se rappelle de lieu qu'il avait notamment par rapport à Batman.
Well, in a practical sense, I would like to be remembered for my last work, because if you are remembered for a work you done 20 years ago, it's not a good thing, because it means no one wants to work with you again. But emotionally, the most rewarding work by large is Werther. Is my creator, our creator. Is my only creator-owned book I did from ever. So. Yeah. Now, I think is the most important.
Il aimerait qu'on se rappelle de lui pour son dernier travail, ce qui voudrait dire qu'il a continué à être bon, à évoluer évidemment, et pas des choses qu'il aurait fait 20 ans auparavant, mais d'un point de vue émotionnel, c'est évidemment Werther, qui est la série dans laquelle il est le plus investi, parce que c'est aussi sa première série en tant que créateur. On va prendre la dernière question qui est celle de Sandrine, là-bas.
Thank you first to be there this afternoon. Thank you, Lyon. Just wanted to know, where do you live? And sometimes do you meet for the book, or you do it always by mail distance whenever you can?
Yeah, so I live in New York City, and then Barcelona and Rome.
Address.
Yeah. I'll write it down for you later. But the nice thing is, especially in the last few years. Obviously, there were a few years that we couldn't do this, but the three of us, we attend a lot of comic conventions around the world together. So while month to month we might be mostly communicating by email or or just messages between us, or even sometimes just the scripts. Like I like writing messages in the scripts that kind of like set the tone for what the story is. But then we do a few times a year get to, be in the same place, and that's when, we get to have conversations about what happens further on in the story. Yeah.
Donc James vit à New York, Fernando vit à Barcelone et Werther vit à Rome. En tout cas, c'est les informations officielles. Ils se rencontrent assez régulièrement, notamment au travers des festivals et des conventions. En librairie, c'est beaucoup plus rare. Et sinon, ils échangent toute l'année, au travers des mails, évidemment, bien sûr, des messages qu'ils échangent, des scripts que James envoie. Et quand ils se voient donc réellement, c'est souvent le moment où ils en profitent pour approfondir et voir plus loin, tout simplement. On va s'arrêter là, les amis. I just have 2 questions by your 2 friends. I have 2 videos I will show you. One is a bet from Alvaro. I asked him, because we asked some people coming in to ask maybe another video question to another people coming in. And I didn't expect for this one. Alvaro bet you to find what I did before.
What?
What I did before. Yeah, because you know it. Yeah, so this is a bet. So you have 3 questions if you want.
Okay.
And something very special to him. But he
Okay.
told you even in a billion years you won't find it. I will show you the video.
Okay. All right.
You can ask 3 questions.
3 questions. Well, obviously, if it's that challenge, then it's not going to be anything that you've done like connected to book publishing or all of that. So
That man who was a detective.
Yeah, like, you did tell me earlier that you were raised as a military kid going around. Is it something to do with the government?
No.
I
won't tell you that.
All right. Yeah, all right. Is it some sort of criminal enterprise?
Yeah, there are too many people to talk about this. No.
All right. All right. Then what's it has to be something outrageous then. So were you in the circus?
No.
Okay.
Non.
All right.
Alors, donc Alvaro a posé une question en vidéo que j'ai là, mais le son est un peu trop faible. En gros, qu'il essaie de lancer comme pari à James de trouver ce que j'avais pu faire moi avant dans ma vie. Donc il s'est rappelé de ça. Donc I was a lyrical singer.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. See, I got closer in the last one. With, yeah.
And there is a question from David Messina for you. He sent me the video. I will show you. He told us you are a compulsive buyer. you know where I'm coming? Of action figure. Like you have some kind of competition about it. Like
in his mind. But yeah.
I will show you.
Because I win.
David Messina m'a envoyé une question en vidéo hier, je vous montrerai à l'occasion, les amis, où en gros, une anecdote à propos de très fan à propos de Werther et lui, qui partage le même studio à Rome, disant qu'il s'était lancé dans une espèce de compétition de collectionneurs d'action figures complètement barré, où en gros, à chaque fois qu'il retournait au studio, en général, each time you went to the studio, it means you bought another one. And notamment, he told me you won this competition. To be honest, you have an amazing collection of action figures of Batman, Kamen Rider, and else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So the question?
No, it was just an anecdote.
Okay.
Merci tout le monde, merci à eux surtout. Vraiment.